And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis. You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis. You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Good morning, Car Clinic affiliates. Your Car Clinic minutes for the week of February 15th, 2016 are about to head your way, so be sure to press the record button. As always, thank you for listening to and broadcasting Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Have an excellent weekend.
Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Welcome to the lifestyles of the rich and famous. Forget about the million-dollar mansions, because this week we're looking at four-wheeled fortunes. Find out what $100,000 gets you when I come back. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Ethanol by the numbers. 113, ethanol's octane rating. 45% lower oil import dependency level due to ethanol. 25.3 million tons of greenhouse gas emissions reduced by ethanol's use. 6 million miles traveled in testing E15. 2001 model year and newer light-duty vehicles approved for E15 use. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol. Drive to ethanolrfa.org. This week, we're living the high life with cars that cost as much as houses. Starting with a Maserati Quattraport, a four-door, five-seat luxury sedan with laminated glass, Poltrona Frau leather seats, and a Bosch Blaupunkt multimedia system that includes exterior sound counseling audio, satellite phone, and rear seat TV DVD player. Add a satellite navigation system, electric sunshade, separate climate controls, and a 4.2-liter V8 engine, and it's easy to see why this mean machine cost over $90,000. Believe it or not, this is the cheapest car on our list. Tune in tomorrow for cars that really break the bank. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Baby, it's cold outside, but cozy inside your car, right? No? Icicles are hanging from your cheeks? Well, when we come back, it's an open and shut case of the faulty thermostat. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. The Department of Agriculture determined ethanol's energy balance to be 1.7 to 2.3. That's to say, today's ethanol production yields nearly twice as much energy as it took to create. Also, in 2011, ethanol use reduced tailpipe CO2 equivalent emissions by 25.3 metric tons. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. If you're still wearing mittens after a couple of miles of driving, your thermostat may be stuck open. The result is a too-cool engine which doesn't produce enough hot water to warm the heater coils that make passenger cabins toasty. And if Frosty the Snowman's more comfortable inside your car than you, it's more than an inconvenience, it's a warning sign. Engines that run too cool waste gas and are prone to mechanical troubles. So keep your engine and your passengers operating at optimum temperature. Have your thermostat checked today. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Road rage has no place on our highways. This holiday, take the goodwill you found in cathedrals, synagogues, and churches to your sedans, wagons, and SUVs. When I come back, I'll tell you why. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. E15 as a choice at the pump benefits engines of today's EPA E15 approved vehicles. The first gas station offering an E15 alternative to drivers of light-duty vehicles, model year 2001 and newer, opened its E15 pumps to consumers in Lawrence, Kansas in July 2012. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Just like epidemics of the past, road rage is passed on after briefest contact. While the holiday spirit still fills you, think about this New Year's resolution. Cage road rage. Give fellow travelers some notice and signal before switching lanes. Don't tailgate. Driving 2 inches from someone's bumper doesn't hurry them along. Go easy on the horn. Drive in the right lane, pass in the left, and take only one parking space. When you're driving, think golden rule. The lessons we learned during holiday services are good all year long. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Winter vacations. Skiing, sledding, hot chocolate in the lodge. But no such luck for transmission repair technicians. When I come back, I'll tell you why winter snowstorms keep transmission shops busy. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Grueling testing of E15, or 15% ethanol blended fuel, by the Department of Energy is in a league all its own. 86 vehicles were driven more than 6 million miles. That's 12 round trips to the moon. No discernible difference was found in engine wear between test fuels in model years 2001 and later. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Transmission shops are busiest after a heavy snowstorm because, think about it, what do we do when we're stuck in snow? If you said rock our cars back and forth from low gear to reverse, you're right. Unfortunately, for our cars and our wallets, we rock way too hard, resulting in overheated automatic transmissions and damage to universal joints. So the next time you're stuck in snow, easy does it. And remember, if you're really stuck, a tow truck may be cheaper than a new transmission. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Ever wish you had a crash course in brakes before you have a crash? Are the terms master cylinder, calipers, and brake pads all Greek to you? Don't worry, when I come back, it's Brakes 101. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. American ethanol producers are fully engaged in the race to the next generation. Since the ethanol molecule is identical across sourcing types, many existing ethanol biorefineries are exploring bolt-on technologies that will enable production of ethanol from both grain starch and cellulosic material at the same facility. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Welcome to Brakes 101. Knowing how brakes work helps ensure they do work. Master cylinders are the heart of the system. Hearts pump blood, master cylinders pump brake fluid to all four wheels. Calipers and wheel cylinders, like strong hand muscles, convert brake fluid into stopping power. Brake pads and shoes, like skin, protect caliper muscles from friction caused by stopping. As in biological systems, the blood, muscles, and skin of braking systems are critical to long life, the brakes, and yours. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Count down to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And here we go again. Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you in the house. Stick around for the next hour or so. Ride along with me, and we'll talk cars and a couple of things that I want to get off the plate early on. Name two things, and this just occurred to me 20 seconds ago. Name two automotive items that are seriously affected by cold weather in your automobile. And the reason I bring this up is yours truly starts to leave the house this morning, and sure enough, I crank my car like I always do. Turn the buttons on, turn the seat heater on, and all that good stuff. And the warning sign comes up. Low tire, left rear tire low. Check all tires, but low rear tire. And I can remember that yesterday that light flickered on, and of course I, like most of you, ignored it because I was busy, right? I was busy. I'm a car guy, and here, so the bottom line, I was a few minutes late here because I reached into my handy-dandy closet and got out my tire pressure, and I aired my tire up before I left the house this morning. So that's one of the two things that are affected by cold weather. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Make your tax refund go farther at O'Reilly Auto Parts. If you've been delaying some much-needed car maintenance, folks, delay no longer. Spend a little of your tax refund on your vehicle now and save an expensive repair down the road. O'Reilly Auto Parts has exactly what you need at guaranteed low prices. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day. And I'm coming back from Daytona.
O'Reilly. Get more mileage from your tax refund at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Visit O'ReillyAuto.com for a tax refund offer for up to $40 off a qualifying ship-to-home order. Spend a little of your tax refund on your vehicle now and avoid costly repairs later. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day. Online ship-to-home orders only. See website for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You can count on batteries with PowerFrame grid technology. They provide superior cranking power with up to 70% better electrical flow than other grid designs. And now, through February 29th, you can save $10 instantly with the purchase of an Autocraft Gold or Autocraft Platinum AGM battery at Advance Auto Parts or CarQuest. Visit PowerFrame.com for your coupon code. And remember, the PowerFrame logo on the outside of your battery means true strength on the inside. Find your coupon at PowerFrame.com. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Extreme, way out there sports are impressive, but the grueling testing of E15 by the U.S. Department of Energy is in a league all its own. E15, or 15% ethanol blended fuel, has undergone the most robust and rigorous fuel testing done to date. For example, in a Department of Energy study, a subset of 86 vehicles driven more than 6 million miles, that's the equivalent of 12 round trips to the moon, on test tracks and dynamometers were torn down and inspected. Result? No discernible difference in engine wear between test fuels in vehicles made in model years 2001 and later, as approved by the EPA. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Drive to ethanolrfa.org. That's ethanolrfa.org.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Like Shakespeare, we ask the question, what's in a name? Ours is pretty blah. We're Geico, not to be confused with Gecko, a small tree lizard. And no, Geico doesn't have a sister company named Girl Co. So, in the absence of a perfect name, focus group tested for hipness, We offer car insurance at a fair price. In 15 minutes, you could save 15%. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Our name may not be cool, but saving money always is. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
I tend to put things off. For example, I put off getting a home equity line of credit for a while. Then one day, when I should have been doing my laundry, I went to LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form and got 4 offers back within hours. Then I chose the line of credit that was right for me. Who knows? I may even get around to using it someday.
When banks compete, you win at LendingTree.com. Equal housing opportunity. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome to this edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I said at the break that I'd come back from Daytona. Actually, I'm coming to you from the center of the automotive universe. And, of course, obviously, Daytona is the center of automotive racing universe for sure. It's a great day. We have in the house a special guest that I hope maybe will become back with us full time. We'll have to talk with him, John Thielen. So, folks, when you call in today, just remember, and JT and I have been together, and Kevin, you can turn your mic up there, and John's in the background. John, good morning. Say hello to everyone.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
And John taught broadcasting and has been in the broadcasting industry for longer than he'd like for me to tell you, I'm sure. And as well as I. But he is just our screener today, so he's answering the phone. So when you call 888 Car Clinic, I'll make it easier for you, 888-227-2546. JT, John Thielen, will be on the hotline, so give him a good warm welcome, if you will. And speaking of the hotline from Daytona, as I mentioned in the open, we have Terry Sabiston, WNDB 1150 News Talk Radio from the Daytona International Speedway. I want to welcome Terry back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Terry, I'm going to turn the mic to you. Welcome. Good morning. What's it like in Daytona?
Good morning. It's beautiful here. It's a little cool, but a little bit of a breeze. We're probably right around 50 degrees or so, but the temperature's climbing. The sun's out. I don't know if you can hear, but there's some noise in the background going on right now as they're warming these cars up, talking about what cold temperatures affect. They're figuring that out right now because these guys are getting ready to start practice at 10:30, and this is for pole qualifying. So they're warming the cars up so when they roll them out on pit road and run that lap, and that's what most of this practice will be, is single car runs, getting that qualifying to see who's going to be on the pole for the Daytona 500. This is practice for it with the pole tomorrow. So it's a fun time right now here at Daytona International Speedway.
There must be a lot of horsepower increase in the cold. The air, the molecules of the air are cooler, therefore you can get more air in the little tiny orifices. Well, I say orifices, they're small throttle restrictors, the throttle plate restrictors for Daytona. So there's actually more air going into the engine, more horsepower. What about tires? How do they warm the tires? They can't do that before they get on the track, right?
No, they're gonna do that in that first lap, and when they get out there and they run that what you call a gimme lap till they come back around to the green flag, and by the time they get around this 2.5-mile track, they'll be up to full bore, probably close to 200 miles an hour, and at that point, I think the tires will be pretty warm.
Gimme lap. You know what? I don't know that I'd want to. I would like to ride around, and I have with you before the Daytona International Speedway, but I don't know about that gimme lap. That would have to be sort of a gimme faith that in my automobile that it's going to turn left at 200 miles an hour.
Well, yeah, and we've been there. I actually just got out of the pace car about 10 minutes ago. Did take a hot lap around here with Martin Truex. And it was one of those, you remember when we were talking a lot? There was not a lot of talking. We were up against the wall and then dove down to the yellow line, and that was a pretty fun ride with Martin Truex. That was a nice way to start my day. And then, to top that off, icing on the cake, joining you, Bobby.
Well, it was a great time, and imagine not talking, you and I, neither of us not talking. And, folks, we left the pit road, and we were not in a race car. We were in sort of a slightly modified SUV or crossover. And before we got in the middle of turn one, Terry, if you'll remember, we were running 110 miles an hour, and I had no idea. I thought it would take a while to wind up that little four-cylinder or V6, but it did not. That track just brings on the speed of automobiles. Speaking of speeds, what kind of speeds are you expecting today?
Well, I'm figuring the pole qualifying probably is going to be around 195, 96. I don't think they'll break 200 miles an hour. We'll see. We really haven't seen any single-car runs yet. This is the first time they're on track. All we've seen so far is the Sprint Unlimited guys yesterday got out and ran their cars, and that's the other problem. Right now in the garage, a lot of these teams have two cars. One they're going to run in the Sprint Unlimited tonight, and one that they're doing for qualifying practice today. So the garage area is pretty packed right now with 25 teams that have two cars that they're working on, and then the rest of them just one. But it's a lot going on in the garage, and now it's time. I actually thought about calling from the garage, but I'm up on top of the fan zone looking over right now because there is so much activity going on down there.
You have to be cold standing up there, and folks, he's on the top of on a roof, right?
There's a little breeze, but I'm dressed for it. That's the other thing. The wind's blowing down the front stretch, and then it's going to be, they're going into the wind coming down the back stretch. So that might affect practice speed some. We'll see what tomorrow's weather looks like for qualifying. That'll come up tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock. We got a busy day here at the track today. We got 2 practice sessions, 2 hours that start here at 10:30, and then they'll take a break for an hour, and then again at 1:30 to 3:30, and then the ARCA race starts a little after 4 this afternoon, the Lucas Oil 200, and then after that, the Sprint Unlimited at about 8 o'clock tonight. So there's a full day activity here at Daytona National Speedway. This is one of my favorite days, and there's no problem with the cold, Bobby. I love it.
I hear you. And Terry, I'm proud that General Tire is a Car Clinic partner, because General Tire is also partnered with the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards, and it's the official tire. And so today at 4:30, when the Lucas Oil 200 starts off, the cars will have General Tires on them.
Yeah, they will. And my car has, that's what I have on my Jeep is General Tires. And it's pretty cool because, Goodyear, yes, that's NASCAR and you can buy Goodyears, but I don't remember too many people putting the Hoosiers on their their home vehicles. That's just not something that we used to, you think about. But General Tire is a brand out there that consumers can relate to, and I think this is a big deal for General Tire.
Oh, I think it is. And also it's just great to hear what's going on in Daytona, and it's great to hear that we started off and one of the, now we have to shift gears quickly. Daytona Rising. What's the track? What's the facility like?
It is done. It is finished. There's still a few little details they're working on, but it's just the most amazing sight. And tonight we will see a good part of it filled. I'm down here in the fan zone, and just looking up, you keep looking up, and there's more seats and more seats. What's neat about all these seats is there's no more than 20 steps, I think, from the nearest entrance, and you can get to that entrance by escalator or elevator. So 20 steps up or down to your seat total from the time you get into the Motorsports Stadium is pretty amazing.
Well, as I understand, and last week we had Joey Chitwood III there from Daytona calling in, and we talked about those 20 steps, and he had mentioned to me that on the very top level, you could see over the back stretch, you could see the airport, and you could also see the Atlantic Ocean. That's pretty high up there. And also I understand that all of the seats have been replaced. They all have armrests. They're all extra wide, and they're 9/10 of a mile long is what that facility is down the main straight.
It's just unbelievable. It's overwhelming the more you look at it. And then when you think about putting people in it and being up there in the stands, one of the things I really like is they've changed. Used to be in the old grandstands, if you were sitting down, you were looking at the top, right at the back of somebody's head. It's steeper, and you've got a clear view now. Also, I remember back, in the old days when it was a concrete. There was no seat, and you were sitting on a concrete step, and that was it. So it's come a long way since the early days. And actually, they did replace some of those original seats were still here from when they built the track in 1959.
That's amazing. And I've actually been to many races and sat on cold, hard concrete. And, you don't think about it because you're all excited, the noise of the engines and a roar. And about 20 minutes into the race, you say, well, I'll be back. You have to get up and go take a break and come back. But with a new Daytona Rising facility and the new Daytona International, $400 million will buy you a lot of nice seats, right?
It will, and they'll also buy some nice amenities with that, too. The suites are awesome. There's more suites than there's ever been. There's Harley J's, which is a club that you can be a part of that has all the amenities. There's so many different opportunities here and so many different ways you can see this race, whether it be in the infield, in the RV, in the fan zone, we're looking over the garage, or up in the grandstands. And I guess they're not grandstands anymore. That's a hard one for me to change. But up in the seats in the stadium. And then also from the suites where you've got, air conditioning, heating, food, and all the amenities you need, they're taking care of you. So the fan zone's starting to get jumping right now. I guess there's probably 500,000 people out here this time of morning, and they haven't even hit the track yet.
Wow. Wow. That is unbelievable. Well, Terry, I thank you so much for calling in. As always, it's great to hear from Daytona and from our partners there, WNDB 1150 AM News Talk Radio in the Daytona area. And a special shout out to all of the Car Clinic listeners for all these years. I love you guys, and for me, you know, it's my second home. It's a home away from home, and I may not get down there for the Daytona 500, but the Coke Zero, you better be on the lookout for me, because I'm going to burn the road up and head that way. So, Terry, thank you so much. And knock them out. And thanks again for calling in and giving us the live report from the on-site.
All right. Thanks a lot, Bobby. Have a great day.
You know, I am excited about that, folks. Just think about it. And I will say this, and here's a little factoid for you. During the construction of Daytona Rising, one-tenth of all the steel produced in the United States went to that facility. Wow. Kevin, you said, wow, you didn't have your mic on, but those are facts, 1/10. And the facility, the stadium is so long that they had to account for the curvature of the earth. So when they designed the seats in the stadium and the steel, they had to put in a 7-inch curvature from end to end. Amazing. Hey, we come back, I'm going to take your calls at 888-227-2546. Again, 227-2546. Say hello to John Thielen when you call, too. This is Bobby Likis with a shout-out to all fans of the Daytona 500. WNDB and the Car Clinic Network are sending 2 lucky people to the Daytona 500 on us. You'll enjoy hotel accommodations Saturday and Sunday nights, February 20th and 21st, compliments of Daytona Beach Country Inn and Suites. And then on Sunday, February 21st, you'll be our guest at the 58th running of the Daytona 500, compliments of the Daytona Flea and Farmers Market. Go to Facebook.com/Bobby Likis and message me, Bobby, I want to win Daytona 500 tickets. Or go to WNDBNewsTalk.com for more ways to win. Be a winner. See firsthand the new $400 million improvements made to the Daytona International Speedway, home of NASCAR. So go to Facebook.com/Bobby Likis and message me, Bobby, I want to win Daytona 500 tickets. Deadline is Sunday, February 14th. Winner announced on the 15th. Here's an email from a Car Clinic listener. David writes, what's the amber light on my dash? It looks like a cork pointing at an angle to a picture on the side of the car. This light has been on and off for about a year now, and I think it's time I check it out. Well, David, no time like the present. The light indicates a detected failure that could allow gasoline fumes to evaporate into the air, costing you money in lost fuel and polluting the air. Most common failure that trips the light? A small evap leak, or in other words, loose fuel cap. Besides being tight, the cap must also be in good condition. Fuel caps don't last forever, and poor quality caps don't work well from the beginning. Stant makes a large line of fuel caps that will last a very long time and ensure proper sealing of the system. Stant fuel caps are the only aftermarket caps to include all the safety features of the original equipment cap. Visit Stant.com or ask your local parts store for a Stant gas cap by name.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
I'm 98.
Higher.
Higher at 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And folks, welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you just tuned in, you missed a great first segment. We talked with Terry Saveston, our WNDB sports reporter from the racetrack in Daytona. And for those of you who are not necessarily into racing, I have to share this with you. Racing has brought to the car that you drive, I drive, and all the cars you see on the road, certain items of safety. The crash worthiness of a vehicle is directly related to how much pressure that front end or the side or the back of that car can take before caving in, and how much of a cushion it can provide. You can make a car like a brick wall, and when you hit something, you hit a brick wall. But if you make a car like an accordion, so that as you absorb the impact, your body doesn't have to absorb that impact. So literally, cars have what's called crumple zones in them, and those crumple zones are there. If you've ever opened the hood of your car, I mean, of course, today's cars, it's hard to recognize anything because they have all those nice, pretty plastic panels. And you think, well, that's make them look pretty, but it's not. It's to shield the noise from the direct injectors, because engines with 4 valves per cylinders and double row bicycle chains, timing chains, they make a lot of noise. My engine makes a lot of noise in my automobile. It really does. It bothers me because I'll fire the car up. I leave my windows down. I'll fire it up in the morning. And I wear, as you might suspect from someone that's been in racing, hearing devices. They're not hearing aids, they're computer aids is what they are. They're programmed, each one. But the bottom line, they magnify the highs that a lot of guys like me have lost. And I'll tell you, when you hear that rattle of that chain and that engine, it makes me grit my teeth. I can't stand it, but there's nothing I can do about it except maybe put an accumulator on the engine that has oil pressure before the engine comes to life. Because for those of you who are not into engines, the engine's heart doesn't run while it's stopped. Nothing runs. So when you crank the engine is actually running in place with no oil pressure until oil it's called pumpability, is sucked from the oil pan and then pressurized and then pushed to the top of the engine. Well, by that time, I could take a next call. Well, almost.
But before we do that, Bobby, we were talking about racing this morning, and we have a question from our WatchBobbyLive.com viewer, Car Clinic's favorite boat captain, Captain Jim.
Oh.
He'd like to know, who's your favorite NASCAR driver?
Well, he retired. My favorite NASCAR, and that was Jeff Gordon. I've always had a great deal of respect for Jeff Gordon. I don't know that he's ever been in any controversy. He's always been if you look back at his record, and I saw this stat, it was normally televised or announced by the media when he was retiring, how many number 10 places or how many top 10 finishes that he made, how many top 5 finishes he made, how many Daytona wins he had, and it's just literally amazing. And this weekend, starting, they have the Daytona 500 is next weekend, but this weekend they have the ARCA race that we talked about with Terry, and you're going to see on television and here on radio and broadcast, you're going to hear Jeff Gordon. So it's going to be interesting to watch him transition, and that's what. Isn't that what old football players do when they turn 29 or 30? Old. Well, I mean, what is the not life expectancy, but what is the player expectancy of a football? Well, Manning is what, 30? He's 39, I think. John, you know what?
John says he's 39. I don't know much about
39.
sports.
I don't know a lot about sports. I'm not much of a watcher. I like to participate, even with car racing. But at 39, to win a Super Bowl, that's pretty cool. I mean, you got to give him credit. And I wasn't necessarily pulling for his team. I was pulling for the other team because I have a connection to Auburn through Alabama. Auburn way second to Alabama with me, but and Cam Newton. But in the final analysis, I wanted him to go out with a win, and of course what I wanted doesn't matter, but it just happened that way. So hats off to. So for Captain Jim. And for all you folks tuned in, my favorite driver has retired. I don't know, maybe after we watch the Daytona 500, I'll have another driver. Tony Stewart was probably my least favorite. for reasons that I don't need to talk about. Let's see who else. Michael Waltrip. I never thought Michael Waltrip was much of a car driver, but he did a pretty good job on the radio. Let's see who else. Dale Earnhardt Jr. I would have to say, and now that Jeff Gordon has retired, Dale Earnhardt Jr. would be my choice. I've met him. I've been to his facility years ago. Well, when it was DEH, before he disassociated from his family there. But the bottom line, I would say Dale Earnhardt Jr. would be my next in line, and only because, number one, I was 110% not for Dale Earnhardt Sr. I didn't care for the way he drove, and if you had someone driving like he drove today, they would put him off the racetrack. That's a fact. I know a lot of people don't like that, and a lot of people may call me and say, well, Likis, you're sacrilege here. But in the big scheme of things, when you have such an icon, whether I like him or not, we all have our own opinions, right? When you have someone, a father figure, that is such a huge figure in racing, and there's no doubt that Dale Earnhardt was a huge figure in NASCAR racing. I mean, that's a given. You know, you see trucks are number 3 and all that. But the bottom line, for him to follow, for him being Dale Earnhardt Jr. to follow in his footsteps of his father, that is not an easy job, and I think he did and has been doing an outstanding job. So I said all that to say that Dale Earnhardt Jr. is now my favorite driver. Too much. We did mention, and I want to go over this. And also, John Thielen is screening today, and I want to welcome him back again, folks. Let us hear from you at 888 Car Clinic. And it's not a racing show today. We just kicked it off that way, but it can be anything that suits you. But I think it's fabulous, a great idea that General Tire is now the presenting sponsor of ARCA's season opening Daytona race, and that's the Lucas Oil 200. It's at 4:30 Eastern Time this afternoon. So hats off to General Tire. I happen to have General Tires on my Camry that has been a fantastic automobile, and the tires are absolutely over the top. And as Terry said during our time together there, it's kind of neat to have a tire on a race car, and then to have that same manufacturer of tires that you can buy for your automobile. Are they different compounds? Absolutely. Just like ice and cold weather tires versus all weather tires. And for more information, you can go to generaltire.com. In the meantime, we'll take your calls at 888-227-2546. Let's take a quick trip from Daytona to another D, a big D, Detroit, and we'll talk to Captain Jim from Daytona, and now not Captain Jim, but Captain Jim was in Las Vegas. Terry was in Daytona, and now we're going to go to Detroit and talk to Jim, our Car Clinic reporter. Jim, bail me out here. Good morning.
Okay, good to bail you out there, Bobby. You asked what are the two things that happen with like my car's in the garage. We got sub-zero weather temperatures in Michigan. I would think even though I'm running the car with synthetic oil, I should let the car warm up longer, even though it's ready to start instantly for the better treatment of my car.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yes, and all yes. I always, even in warm weather, I let my engine run long enough that the fast idle comes down or starts to settle down, and the colder it is outside or in my garage, which that's not a heated garage, so the colder it is, the longer it takes from it to go from the 1500 RPM idling before I put the car in gear. And then in that length of time, Jim, what I will do is I put my windows up because I always put them down. I close the sunroof, which I always open because I want my car to air out in the garage. And one of the things a mistake that I made years ago when I restored a couple of cars, I kept them, and I kept the windows closed, so that I could keep dirt out. Wrong. You live in the tropics in Florida. You keep windows closed in an automobile inside your garage. Mold, mildew, because humidity gets trapped in there. And I had one car that was a beautiful Mark III Lincoln black with white interior, and the leather interior turned yellow in places because of just age that was really pushed forward through the fact that I kept the windows closed. But we're coming up on a break, but I want you to stay with us. But what's the topic for your report today?
Okay, Bobby, we have a few. What I'm really going to talk about is how important it is to get your car or truck tuned up by the and save you money and stay in the warranty.
Okay, well, you dropped out there. Would you say that one more time, Jim?
Okay, we're going to talk about improving your truck and keep you on the features that will be covered if it's done through your dealer.
Well, you can't believe this, but you dropped out again.
I'm still on the phone. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Can you hear me now? Well, that was a great commercial, wasn't it? The guy.
Yeah, it was.
It was a great commercial. The guy walking through.
What we're talking about is the car dealer, if they super install extra features on your truck, it will carry the warranty, and that's the most important part.
Now you're talking. Well, what about love affairs? You know, this is not what you're reporting on, but just do you think consumers, today's consumers, car owners, have love affairs with their car?
I do. My neighbor across the street, she calls the car her baby.
Yeah. Well,
by the way, we picked up a new listener for you in Utah. The guy that fixed my computer over the internet yesterday is listening from Utah. If you're not on there, he's listening to the Car Clinic Network.
Friends of mine just returned from Deer Park, and this year I didn't go with them. Of course, I don't ski, but I sure love the scenery. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful there. It just really is a beautiful place. And so Utah, and one of my customers, by the way, left her car here and had a trip. And she sent us a note saying, just to confirm that the car would be ready Friday when she got back. And she says, I'm sending this note from Utah where there's ice and snow and white mountains everywhere. And I was standing at that time in the cold shop, because it's been cold here on the Gulf Coast. And I was standing in the cold shop, and I just shivers ran up and down my spine. We're going to take a short commercial break, Jim. We're going to come back, and we're going to hear more of what's going on in Detroit and also the world of automobiles. And, folks, you're invited to participate. 888-227-2546. Get social with me. I'd invite you to like me on Facebook.com/Bobby Likis. That's Likis. And also Twitter.com and Pinterest.com. We come back. We'll finish our conversation with Jim from Detroit, and we'll take your conversations at 888-CAR-CLINIC. Don't touch that dial. The relationship with your vehicle is about trust. You trust in your car or truck to get you to work or play. So when your vehicle needs to be repaired, make sure you trust the parts your technician uses to get your vehicle going again. With over 100 years of OE expertise, Delphi has earned your trust. Delphi supplies OE automotive technologies to the world's top 25 vehicle manufacturers. Delphi engine management expertise helps deliver improved emission control, fuel economy, and drivability. In fact, Delphi is the first and only OE manufacturer to create an all-makes replacement option for mass airflow sensors. Delphi offers mass airflow sensor replacement solutions for over 95% of vehicles on the road today, and Delphi's proprietary sensing elements provide highly accurate airflow readings to the electronic control unit over a wide range of ambient temperatures. For over a century, Delphi has had a passion for making the parts that help vehicles worldwide run better, longer, and more efficiently. Learn more at DelphiAutoparts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but mornings knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
If you're familiar with the Kulseford section of the newspaper, You probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the Kulsford section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemulls. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's Vehicle Protection Program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad you tuned in today. And every Saturday from 10 till noon Eastern Time on your favorite local AM and or FM radio station, you'll catch us. You can also download the program through all the typical social media, iPad, iTunes, and those sorts of things. And we also provide a video cast of this program. The Auto Channel, TAC TV actually runs this program live in several different states. You can go to theautochannel.com and check out their schedule there. You can also get lots of information from, actually the Auto Channel is the largest automotive car reporting channel on the internet. It's been around forever, and it's just Mark Roush and Bob Gordon have been partners since the 80s. And folks, for your information, it was their team, one of their team members, whose son was a really sharp individual. And in 1998, now to think about it, we're streaming live right now through YouTube and digital, and we have fiber from Cox Business in our building. But in 1998, we also streamed video on the internet of our programs from our Car Clinic studios. That was really something that was way out there, and we did it successfully. Don't ask me how. Well, we did it just like we do now. One little digit at a time. Ones and O's, right, Kevin? Everything's ones and O's now, right?
That's right.
Yeah, okay. There are no moving parts in the computer, right?
Well, there are, but not for the processing parts. There's like fans and stuff. Keep it cool.
Okay, well, we're going to talk about that one day. But in the meantime, let's go back to Detroit. So, Jim, you're still with us. Let's pick up where we left off, and let's invite everyone to call in 888-227-2546. Jim, what do you have for us?
Okay, Bobby, we're talking about if you had a new 150 Ford truck with the Rush truck is called for 216, it's much better to keep the warranty than to go to a parts store. If you put the parts on yourself and you don't bolt them in, tighten them up, your warranty is not responsible for the coverage. So in the long run, going through your dealer is a smart move to make.
And you're talking about when you personalize or accessorize your vehicle.
That is correct.
Got you. Well, you'd be surprised. In fact, to that end, Jim, and this is something that we won't necessarily get into now, but it's a huge issue with all the aftermarket. The EPA is trying to, and I don't know, I haven't read the statement yet, but as I understand from some of my teams here and my ASE certified technician, Zach Cash, that just this week was talking about the EPA is trying to outlaw the sale of a part that would take a street car and make it into a race car. And this is we're talking about off-road vehicles now. And so if you were to, as I understand now, so don't quote me on this, but I will dig into this. If you were to look at the letter of the EPA and understand it from the outset, it would appear that they're trying to stop aftermarket companies from making aftermarket parts for cars. And if that's the case, the EPA has gone too far.
I would agree.
Yeah.
They pushed the limit.
Well, yes. So who is the EPA anyway? I know it's the Environmental Protection Agency, But is that a group of men and women behind closed doors that make up these rules as they go and say what is our target today? I know that with regard to the renewable fuel standard, they actually changed the volumes of ethanol, and there's a law that says you can't do that, and they actually have done that. So I don't know who they are, but they must wield a big stick is all I know. What else you have for us?
Okay, Bobby, let me finish up on this report. If your truck was, one of the enhancements was a 600 horsepower engine, and you had other features put on it, not only does your warranty continue, but the warranty can be second covered on a second owner of the car. It can transfer.
Got it.
Now, that's pretty important. Well, if I'm going to sell my car or truck and I go right to the dealer, or if I'm on the other end and I'm going to buy a car that's been used before, I want a full warranty with that car, and that's something to be considered.
Well, it's especially important, and folks, Jim makes a good point here, and here's the takeaway. It's especially important when you buy a used vehicle to have, number one, the service records, and a certified used car, quote unquote, has different descriptions from whether it's a Toyota or a Mercedes or a General Motors, Ford, Chrysler, it doesn't matter. The certification of a car, they may all talk in different languages, but here's the one common denominator. A certified used car means that all of the records for its service history are available and documented. And therein lies exactly what you're talking about, Jim. And in our business, in our car clinic service pre-repair operating business, we created GLOBO, which is an acronym for Glove Box Online. And every automobile that comes through our shop since 2004, you can access your service records. And when you sell that car, you actually have all of your service records compiled and compiled for you online through your GLOBO as a customer of ours. And our customers love it, and so do we. And what's really neat about that is that if you've got a college student and you've got a child and you've had the car into our service facility, and that that a young person is away at college, and you have a problem with the automobile, that person or you or a service shop at the college location of the college area can access the records, of course, with your approval and your password to all the services that have been performed on that automobile. And it's a great part of of what we provide, and it's one of our best services we provide, and it's exactly what you're talking about with regard to the warranty being transferable to the second owner. And you save a lot of money when you buy a used car, but with 100 million lines of code on some cars these days, I mean, that's unbelievable. I recently had an email from one of our listeners, Stan, who told me that a fighter jet had 25, as I remember, 25 or 35. I'm going to call 35 because I'm just coming from memory. 35 million lines of code that flew that fighter jet. And here's an automobile that has 100 million lines of code. I mean, and it's not twice as many doesn't mean twice as many. It's there's multipliers in there. So exponentially, that's huge, a lot of database. What else do you have for us today?
Okay, Bobby, I read another article where the U.S. government, again, comes into picture whether we agree with it or not. The autonomous car, when it comes out in 10 years, when it's totally autonomous, they're willing, if they've changed the laws and how long that's going to take, it's your guess as good as mine. Because if I'm going to get in an autonomous car that's a Uber and I don't have to have a cab driver there, they can run that car 24 hours a day with lower cost because they're not paying the driver. And if they are certified that the computer in their car is the recognized driver, they can really have a better budget for that service.
Do you think we'll see that? You think we will see the day? Well, that's not a fair question, but how soon do you think? This is a better question. How soon do you think we will see autonomous cars? And I know that I know GM has invested $500 million in, and they're starting a project called Lyft, Lyft. No doubt, Elon Musk and Tesla and Uber. I mean, there are companies that will reduce the cost of transportation, which means that the consumer will buy. And if you have something that consumers want and will buy, then there's a market for it, and there's profit to be made, and that stands to reason that it will be successful. What's your take?
Well, Bobby, in line exactly in what you're saying, in 2017, the Tesla car is going to come out with one for $30,000. Now, that's going to be right on the line with competition to GM. And if it carries through with what they do on their luxurious car, where you can get 0 to 60 in 3 seconds or 2, they are setting the road mark for that, and GM is going to have to ride with them.
Well, there's no doubt that Tesla, I won't say single-handedly, but single-handedly, I have to say it, has really marketed their product. The concern that I have is that Tesla has lost more than $2 billion. And so when you look at, the viability, long-term viability of any organization or any company, or it doesn't matter, you have to have some income in order to have R&D and those sorts of things. So, will that continue? Will he continue to survive and prosper? And I say yes, and I say that regardless, when you look at companies like Apple that have, close to $200 billion in cash, and if they lose $20 or $30 billion and they've moved us forward, good for them and better for us, because the cars are safer and they're more convenient, and we live better lives. It's that simple. We live safer lives, just like in Daytona when they wreck cars and they crush, they have problems. They fix the problem and they make the car safer the next time. That transfers over to the very cars that we drive. Hey, Jim, thanks for calling in today, and as always, a great pleasure to have you join us on Saturdays here on Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Okay, Bobby, until next week, we'll speak then.
Thank you. And folks, I want to share with you, I see that Jeff is on the phone, so we're going to go to Jeff. In fact, why don't we do that now? But I want to share with you about how you feel about your car, whether or not you love your car. We touched on this earlier. And there's a company that I'm familiar with called CarStar. You may or may not be, but it's an auto body repair expert organization that has franchised auto body repairs across the nation. And, Valentine's Day, for you guys and you ladies, Valentine's Day is when? Tomorrow. I need to remind myself of that. Okay, I'm on. So do you love your car or not? And I have some stats here that are very interesting that I'll share with you with CarStar. But first, let's go to Jeff. Jeff, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for holding.
Bobby, breezy days here in Pensacola. I want to touch base with you for just a minute about, I do a little bit of traveling back and forth across the state, okay, and some up into Alabama. And I see these some of these convenience stores. They're independent distributors on fuel.
Right.
I don't know where they buy their fuel, but I'm beginning to see some of these islands mixed in there with fuel islands with non-ethanol fuel.
Right.
In other words, back to the old regular. What's going on there with that? Do you have an idea?
There's profit there. There's people buying fuel for their small engines and for their lawnmowers that want to buy that straight E0, it's called, fuel. So it gets right back to what I was saying earlier. If there's a market for it, they'll buy it. And so if people want E0, E10, E20, E30, or E85, then we as consumers should be able to buy that. So that's what you're seeing. And there's not a movement away from ethanol. There's just profit to be made from selling. When you can sell gasoline for 50 cents more a gallon, well, have at it. So
okay.
That's really what it's about. It's more about granted ethanol blended fuels will cause a fixed jet carbureted engine that is not computer control. So we've got to go back 30 years, 40 years. But in that case, because ethanol, every molecule of ethanol contains 35% oxygen, the oxygenate ability of, I just made that up, oxygenate ability, okay, of ethanol it provides cleaner air and cleaner burning fuel and actually cools the chamber. So there's a lot of assets, and we know this to be true. The more we use it, the more we find out, the better it is. Going back to your question, you see gas stations that sell, because of the boating industry, because we're on the Gulf Coast, and because there are lawnmowers that have fixed jets and weed eaters and those sorts of things that that are not guaranteed with any ethanol blended fuels. So that's what that's for. Plus, in my heart of hearts, it's more about the 50 cents extra per gallon or whatever it is. I don't know. Did you see the difference in gallon? Do you know what the price is?
It is probably 15% higher at least.
Sir. Yes, sir. At least. Well, it's a good way. If the gas station owner, can meet the demands of the consumer and sell us what we want, then we'll go buy it.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you. Thanks, Jeff. That was a great question. Great call. Okay, let's reach back, because as I was speaking about CarStar, so we love our vehicles. Well, CarStar does, because they're in the vehicle collision repair business. So they do love vehicles. But do we love our vehicles? And here's a question. What drivers love most about their cars? And 48% say power and performance. 30% say independence and pride, what they love about the automobile. So for me, I'm in the 48 percentile. Now, how drivers' vehicles make them feel. 80% say confident, 8% said cool, like cool, man, and then 12% like a rock star. Comfort, I'm probably in that 80% because I love my automobile and my comfort. So CarStar is right on the money there. Now, how drivers customize their vehicles. This, I'm nailed here. What about you? Think about this. 41% update sound system. Yes, I paid extra for extra sound system. My car has 17 speakers in it and 875 watts of Meridian power. Update rims and wheels. Yes, I'm guilty. And there is information that's right on the money about why we love our cars from CarStar. For this report, go to carstar.com. And for more, stay tuned for another hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Likis, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
History is full of automotive breakthroughs, like in-vehicle air conditioning in 1939 and airbags in the 70s. Now Shell is proud to introduce another automotive breakthrough, Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline, featuring an innovative additive package with patented technology. Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline protects against all three main types of engine performance threats: gunk, corrosion, and wear. Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline provides the best total engine protection you can buy. It actively cleans intake valves and fuel injectors and shields critical engine parts against future buildup. The result is a cleaner, more efficient engine that will operate at optimum performance. Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline, proven in industry standard tests and recommended by BMW M Series. Don't give your engine just any premium gasoline. Choose a breakthrough. Choose Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Learn more at shell.com/US.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Bob, what's new? Last month I'm in Africa. When this wildebeest charges me, we butt heads and he's history. After I pull my guide from the jaws of an alligator, I dig into some beef jerky. I get heartburn. I take out my Rolaids as I'm fighting off a wild boar. In under 10 seconds it starts working. Then the boar is bye-bye. My heartburn's gone.
Rolaids starts working in under 10 seconds? You expect me to believe that?
It's true. Rolaids starts neutralizing acid in under 10 seconds. ROLAIDS spells relief. Use as directed.
While Johnny Kim was getting ready for the first customers of the day, someone else was looking at Larger's face for his growing business. At 3 o'clock, while the Curtis family was watching their daughter's soccer game, someone else was walking a prospective tenant through one of their apartment buildings. And while Carmen Delabar was preparing for a fashion show, someone else met with an appraiser about her investment property. You've got a life. We let you live it. We're realtors. Real estate is our life.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll-free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And a special welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you've just tuned in, a big welcome. Stick around, ride along with me for this hour, and we'll talk cars. I'll take your questions, and we want to welcome back in the house today John Thielen. John started with me some going on 25 years ago. He will be answering the phones, and we call him a screener, but really all he does is get your number and your name rather, and the brand of car, and puts a couple of sentences up, and that's about all the field space that he has. So the number is 888 Car Clinic, as you may well know. It's 888-227-2546. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by General Tire. More news about General Tire coming up in the show. You don't want to miss this. Does your car or truck need new tires, but you're just not sure what tire to buy or what tire is best? Check out the Tire Selector at GeneralTire.com. The Tire Selector allows you to search by vehicle or by tire size. You can learn more about General Tire at GeneralTire.com. And just so happens, later today in Daytona, the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards is the official tire, General Tire. How about that? And how about your calls at 888-227-2546 when I come back? First up is Cliff.
Your car and your life have a lot of moving parts, and your car's battery is what keeps it all going. Here's something to keep in mind. While all batteries may look the same on the outside, it's what's inside that matters. So be sure to choose a battery with power frame technology inside. It's stronger, more durable, and keeps you going longer. That means you can count on a battery with power frame to be there start after start. Here's another reason to feel good about choosing a battery with power frame inside. It's manufactured using the latest sustainable processes. You're moving fast, and you don't want anything to slow you down, especially an unreliable battery. So the next time you need to replace your car's battery, make sure you choose one with power frame technology inside. Look for power frame on the outside, and know there's true strength on the inside.
This Tire Maintenance Minute is brought to you by General Tire and the Ultimax RT43, a smarter tire for a smarter driver. Why do vehicles come with a tire that's rated to 150 miles per hour when everyday drivers don't drive that fast? A tire's speed rating indicates the maximum speed a tire is rated to spin before failure to perform as designed. But more than that, as speed ratings increase, tires are designed to perform better during conditions such as cornering, braking, and in emergency maneuvers. That's why you may find a V speed-rated tire on a vehicle that's electronically limited to a lesser speed. For the best performance, replace worn tires with the speed rating recommended by the vehicle manufacturer. The Ultimax RT43 is a stylish, all-season tire designed for a quiet, comfortable ride. And with technologically advanced features like replacement tire monitor and visual alignment indicator, the Ultimax RT43 really is a smarter tire for a smarter driver. Learn more at GeneralTire.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at lendingtree.com.
Hospice isn't a place, it's a face. And Regency Hospice delivers more faces to you and your loved one when life matters most. Faces of nurses, nursing assistants, social workers, and chaplains. Regency's skilled, compassionate professionals deliver comfort and individualized care. When that time of life comes to you, Regency Hospice will be there for you. Go to regencyhospice.com for more, including Hospice for Heroes Veterans Recognition Program.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Let's get started. We'll go directly to the phones, and I'll be taking your calls, 888-227-2546 from Arizona. I thought it was in Mexico. Cliff, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Where are you calling from?
Hey, I'm calling from Alamogordo. Bobby, I missed you, man.
Oh, hey, we missed you.
I'm the blind guy that always listens to you about every Saturday. I never get enough of you.
Well, you're too kind. And folks, this gentleman is, he's been on CNBC and ABC and CBS because he's a mechanic, but he's a blind mechanic. And I will tell you, Cliff, I'm still amazed at what you do and how you can do it. You must have the best feel of any human in the world.
Well, blind people have about 30% more hearing, so they can hear things that other people may not catch.
Women can too.
They may overmiss.
Women have better hearing than men too.
Yeah, that's right. Well, they always say what goes through one ear out the other.
I had don't have time for this, but I got to tell the story. We talked about selective hearing one day, and I had a lady call me and says, Bobby, I know what selective hearing is. I have a definition. I said, well, let's put her on air. So this lady says selective hearing is a condition that men get when they say the words I do.
Yeah, my best skill is NVH. Noise, vibration, and harshness. That's what I'm very good at.
And folks, NVH, noise, vibration, and harshness is the number one most aggravating problem that OEMs, car makers, have to deal with on every side of the car, whether it's a four-wheel drive, a two-wheel drive, front, rear drive. Doesn't matter. NVH is always a real challenge because what is absolutely essential for you to enjoy your car is for you to be isolated from the road and noise and those sorts of things. The challenge is if you over-isolate someone, then you use a lot of rubber. That rubber deteriorates with age. So, yeah, NVH, that's a great place for you to be, NVH. And I have a history of NVH back with Ford Motor Company. But let's move on. What was the topic that you called in today? I see it on the screen.
Yes. Well, what I've been hearing is some reminiscing going on about the new DeLorean coming out in 2017. And they're saying they're going to build the first 300. I was kind of amazed that Jim from Detroit didn't mention that because it's been mentioned on the news now lately that talking about this car, reminiscing the DeLorean again from the past.
Well,
so I'm kind of amazed about that.
Well, I think Detroit's more. I think he's more fixed on what's coming out of Detroit than he is what's coming out of Texas, because the company you're talking about, in fact, the gentleman Stephen Wynn started that company, and when he bought the DeLorean name, and this is for the last. It's old news. It was in January when he made the announcement he was going to make replica DeLoreans. What's your take on that?
Well, my take is that I remember the DeLoreans in the '80s, and they were not very good to look at. I mean, they were kind of blocky kind of car, like chopped up, and it didn't have a lot of design, aerodynamics to it. It was a beautiful car when it came to the Gold Wings. I love that. I just hope they come back with that again. But a lot of people, what I heard in here, we're about 75 miles from El Paso, Texas. I've heard from a guy from a Ford dealer they used to sell those DeLoreans years ago at their Ford dealer, and what a lot of people were doing were painting those cars because they didn't like the stainless steel, so they just go paint them.
That's sacrilege.
Have them painted.
That's sacrilege. I mean, I see. I'm very familiar with the DeLorean because a dear friend of mine and a customer had one, and and we actually put a supercharger on the car. It had a Volvo engine that was over-engineered for that car by Volvo because DeLorean was on the outs with GM for obvious reasons, and so he went to another company, and Volvo went out of their way to make an engine. At that time, it had a Bosch fuel injection system on it. It was so difficult to work on, and the alternator the factory alternator couldn't keep up with. I could go on and on and on. The window regulators were made by Chrysler. The little window that in the gull wing door, the motor would go out. The front brakes were the size of a go-kart. Yeah. And the speedometer was driven off the left front wheel grease cap. So if you took the grease cap off where you get to the bearing, the speedometer would not work because it's driven when the left front wheel turns, the speedometer turns. I know that car inside and out. And what do you know? So do you think that he's going to sell these for $100,000? And if so, he better have a lot of upgrades to that chassis engine design.
Yeah, you know what? Too, it better be reliable because I believe it will because he's going to have to compete now with the marketplace that's getting much better, reliable vehicles out there. For the money, for the same, you got the Corvette, you got they just ended one of my favorite cars, Bobby, in the world was the ACR Dodge Viper, and they know I don't even know if they're building that car anymore, but I know somebody that bought one of those cars, and it is such a beautiful car.
It is.
But you got to meet up with those cars if you're going to build it and sell it for that much. You really got to meet the demand of the quality.
Well, I agree, and then there's another point of me that would say here's another point, another view, because the DeLorean. It has such a unique look about it.
Yes.
If it and because he is a small producer, he doesn't have to meet the crash requirements that Detroit does, and that's why I didn't hear Jim talk about this in Detroit because this car doesn't have to meet the same requirements as mass-produced automobiles, and that allows him to build a replica. Now, so it's a replica. It's not a. I started to say it's not a real car, but it's really not a real car. It's a replica of what a car looked like. And to that end, he'll have better brakes on it. I mean, that's a given. And everything that I know, maybe we should have Stephen Wynn. Maybe I'll reach out to Stephen Wynn and get him on the air to talk about. Let's put that on the plate. Make a note on that.
Should. I would like to hear him because
we'll do that.
Interesting. Yes.
Well, Cliff, it's great to talk with you again. We've got Matt Eaton from Denso that's going to join us. I see Jesse and Victor from Washington, Jesse from Alabama, and Matt Eaton from California is going to be joining us from Denso. I'm delighted that you called, and I'm really anxious to see what this gentleman's going to do with a replica with a running gear, not with the looks. I want the looks to be just the same. That's fine. The running gear, because I know what was under that skin. And it was not good stuff. It was all it was a hodgepodge of wherever DeLorean could buy parts for.
Right, definitely.
And also he had to have a place to store his drugs. I didn't say that on air. I swear I didn't say that.
I already remember that one too. Yes. Well, Bobby, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. It always is. I love you, man. You're great. You're one of the smartest guys out there that's very well-rounded and educated.
You're
and
so
I love
kind.
that, and that's what I love about you.
Thank you, Cliff. Likewise,
so
I love
much,
you, man.
sir.
I appreciate it. Thank you again. Well, that's just it's hard to follow that. This gentleman is a true asset to the automotive industry, in as much as that was obviously and is his passion. Because you never say never, to never think that you could be a technician and be blind. It just doesn't work that way. To that end, we do have Matt Eaton, but I'm not going to try to get him in. Matt, if you don't mind, if you'll hold through the break, we'll get you when we come back. And Jesse from Alabama, with your your Denali oil pressure indicator, don't you go anywhere, because I have personal experiences with those particular automobiles. I can't wait to hear your question. And Victor, I asked you last week to call in because you're in Washington and you call at the end of the program. You always have such great questions. And so coming up, folks, we're going to have, as I said, Matt Eaton from Denso. We have Victor from Washington that's going to be talking about the a piston opposed cylinder engine, which is one of my favorites. It was Eco Motors. It's been changed now, but nonetheless, it's Professor Hofbauer, Peter Hofbauer. I've met with him and face-to-face. It's been an hour and a half with him, so that's one of my favorite engines. And the more we see of that engine, and I asked him when I saw him, do you have anyone that's going to buy this engine? Because it's a prototype. He said, yeah, China's already wanting it. UPS, it can be used in UPS trucks. There's a whole list of places and applications, and therein lies, like electric cars. We say, well, what's the application for an EV? Well, how about local deliveries, where you have a fleet of vehicles, and that's where you're seeing a lot of them that come back to the barn. When we come back, we'll take Matt Eaton first, and then we'll go with Jesse and Victor and your calls at 888-227-2546. Thanks for tuning in. Stick around. I'll be back. This is Bobby Likis with a shout out to all fans of the Daytona 500. WNDB and the Car Clinic Network are sending 2 lucky people to the Daytona 500 on us. You'll enjoy hotel accommodations Saturday and Sunday nights, February 20th and 21st, compliments of Daytona Beach Country Inn and Suites. And then on Sunday, February 21st, you'll be our guest at the 58th running of the Daytona 500, compliments of the Daytona Flea and Farmers Market. Go to facebook.com/Bobby Likis and message me, Bobby, I want to win Daytona 500 tickets. Or go to WNDBnewstalk.com for more ways to win. Be a winner. See firsthand the new $400 million improvements made to the Daytona International Speedway, home of NASCAR. So go to facebook.com/Bobby Likis and message me, Bobby, I want to win Daytona 500 tickets. Deadline is Sunday, February 14th. Winner announced on the 15th. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. American ethanol producers are fully engaged in the race to the next generation. Since the ethanol molecule is identical across sourcing types, many existing ethanol biorefineries are exploring technology upgrades that will enable production of ethanol from a broader range of feedstocks. These bolt-on technologies will allow ethanol producers to increase volumes by converting both grain starch and cellulosic material into fuel at the same facility. Utilizing existing piping, storage, and loading infrastructures at current facilities may help lower the cost for the first commercial production of cellulosic and advanced ethanol. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Drive to ethanolrfa.org.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip
from Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
Some original thinking by Starbucks barista Frank Botex.
What I love most is getting customers to smile in the morning. Starbucks is just a place to come and relax, to kick your feet back. I mean, it's a second home. Starbucks is now in a grocery store, and what better way to just become your own personal barista at home? You go to the grocery store, pick up some coffee, take it home, let the aroma take over your body.
Your favorite Starbucks coffee, at grocery, at home, at last.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Give us a call with your car questions at 227-2546. That's 888 Car Clinic. You know, from time to time, we've talked about spark plugs and fuel injection and different types of fuel with the octane enhancer of ethanol. And one of the most interesting to me is the technology that we're seeing in new cars these days, computer control technology. The same thing is true for spark plugs. I remember when copper and nickel were the go-to metals, but that's long since changed. And joining us now from Denso is Matt Eaton, manager for maintenance products, who's going to give us the update on the latest information about spark plugs and the new Iridium TT from Denso. Matt, welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thank you, Bobby. Glad to be here.
As I said, the copper and nickel were the go-to metals years ago, but that's all changed. Share with our Car Clinic listeners and viewers the key to better performance from better spark plugs.
Well, the real key to better performance is to minimize the interference of the spark so it can grow sort of unhindered. And the older style plugs have these very bulky electrodes. And in some cases, actually, back in the 80s and 90s, there was multiple electrodes. There was sort of a fad going on there. And these electrodes actually absorb the spark's energy and reduce combustion efficiency and performance. Our Iridium TT, or twin-tip concept, minimizes this interference with the spark plug. And our Iridium center electrode tip is actually only 0.4 millimeters, the world's smallest, and the ground is 0.7 millimeters, so very, very small tips.
So because of the small surface area of the flame producer, more of the flame gets into the combustion chamber, which is where it does its work, correct?
That's right, exactly. The energy is not being absorbed, and it's growing.
You know, it seems that the vast majority of vehicles nowadays comes with Iridium spark plugs. Why Iridium? I know that that's a precious metal. I know it's part of the platinum family, but just how great is Iridium?
Well, Iridium is actually one of the densest metals on Earth, and that density leads to a strong resistance for corrosion and oxidation, so better than any other metal. And this means we can design smaller electrodes, very small electrodes. As I mentioned before, that we have the world's smallest at 0.4 millimeters, and those small electrodes perform better and yet still last far longer than the conventional spark plugs.
We're talking with Matt Eaton from Denso Auto Parts. Now I'm intrigued on the 0.4 millimeter twin tips. How do you connect something so small to something so large, even though the spark plugs are smaller today than they've ever been? But how do you attach those and have the structural integrity of attaching something needle-like to a body of a spark plug?
Well, Denso has the unique position to also be a manufacturer of robots. So back in the 90s, we employed the first, I believe it was the first for any spark plug, a robotic laser welding process. So we designed our robots and designed the process and patented back in the 90s for the OEs, and we're still using that same process. So it's a 360-degree laser weld, robotic laser weld, as I mentioned, and it makes it a very consistent weld from a very small or almost microscopic level.
Let's shift gears, Matt. What about the value proposition for consumers, for our listeners? In other words, what's in it for them? And when it comes time to change spark plugs, is it really worth it to replace a standard spark plug with an Iridium plug?
Well, I usually explain it sort of like this. Even if you don't care about adding horsepower or torque to your vehicle, maybe you're not an enthusiast or that sort of thing, but the gas savings alone will easily cover any additional cost over the conventional plug. So we are talking about 3 to 4% better fuel economy on average, but we've seen over 8% on some vehicles. And don't forget that you're saving on fuel costs over 100,000 miles the life of the plug. So that really adds up over time.
100,000 miles on a spark plug. There were times when we saw 30,000 miles, and then along comes platinum, and we saw 60, then an increase beyond 60. And then you mentioned the multiple tip spark plugs that, to me, appears that used more and shielded the spark more so than what the Iridium twin tip does. So we've opened up the area, just so I can better explain and our folks can better understand. We've opened up the flame front provider, which is the spark generated by the iridium twin-tip plug. We've made it smaller so it gets hotter quicker. Doesn't that also help to keep the plug clean?
Yes, it does. And another key point to understand is that the longevity is also helped by the fact that these tips are so small, because the smaller tips mean there's less required voltage for the plug to fire. And of course, over time, the required voltage exceeds the ability of the coil to keep up with it, and that's what causes the misfire to happen to begin with. So those little tips help in that way as well. It's not just the durability or even the less interference. It's also the fact that they're small and they have lower required voltage over time.
Matt Eaton, Denso Auto Parts. Again, folks, that's the Iridium TT spark plugs. You can go to densott.com for more information. Matt, thank you for joining us today. I have personally used those. I use them in my own automobile, and those plugs work. They're just fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us on Car Clinic.
Well, thanks for the opportunity, Bobby.
That's way cool. There's no question about that. That's really a way cool way to make a spark plug. And folks, next time you have your vehicle in for service and you're talking to your service desk, the professional or your ASE certified technician, you ask them to use an Iridium TT plug, especially by Denso. Let's take a call from Jesse. I promised that I would come in this order, so I'm going to Jesse, and then Victor, I'm coming to you. Rick from Kansas, I'm going to come to you, and Howard as well. Jesse, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for holding.
Hey, thanks. Sent you a picture of a West Coast Customs DeLorean. They decided to lighten the weight of the stainless steel by swapping the panels for aluminum.
Okay.
Sent that to your Twitter account.
Okay, sir.
That in itself will improve your fuel economy. My question specifically, again, is going to be the 05. The puff of smoke I called you about before turned out to be the valve guide sleeves that needs to be replaced.
Valve guide, yes. Okay.
That did fix the occasional cold start puff.
So you had to pull the heads and replace and had the heads gone through.
That's a mechanical question. I told them what the symptom was. They came back with, this is what's causing the symptom. I paid for them to fix, quote unquote, and the smoke went away. So I'm presuming whatever they did, they just told me the valve gas sleeves or the guys. They had a couple different names they were calling them.
Might I ask what the dollars you spent on that particular repair?
I had a comma in it.
Okay, all right, I thought so, because that's a big job. And years ago we had problems with more sludge. Well, you have sludge problems today, but years ago we had valve stem seals that would cause the very same problem. And valve guides are better on today than they've ever been, but certainly that can cause, especially when and even on a healthy engine, the carbon that builds up behind an intake valve is caused by unburned gasoline that cokes up behind it, but more so by the PCV system, the oil, and the exhaust gas recirculation, and the oil when you turn the engine off that seeps down that guide onto the back of the intake valve and the exhaust valve, and of course when the engine's shut down, it will harden and coke up. It's called, and that's a real challenge. And to this day, whether it's a direct fuel injection, or that directs fuel directly into the chamber, or it's a standard port fuel injection where the engine design pushes raw fuel over the back of the intake valve, that definitely helps to clean the back of the intake valve. But Jesse, that's another that has been a real problem there. What else? Did you have another question that I could help you with?
Yeah, I'm at 113,000, so I wasn't expecting to have that pop up so soon.
Me either.
Yes, and the other thing was they went ahead and did the plugs so that as they were in there so deep. It's like, well, we can wait or we can do it now since everything is disassembled, and it's a whole lot easier to get the stuff when stuff is separated.
I agree.
The oil pressure indicator, when it's cold, will dip down, triggering the low oil pressure alarm to go off, but only when it's cold. So you had mentioned there's a screen, and I don't know when I had them replace the sensor if standard operating procedure is to check or replace the screen. I got to ask them that question next week.
Okay. there are few technicians that know about that screen, but and that screen that I'm referring to is inside the oil galley behind the oil pressure sender switch. It is also all but inaccessible because the intake manifold is in the way, and the book calls for some 4 hours to remove the intake just to gain access. But a technician who is familiar with that particular screen, using a mirror, just like having your teeth cleaned, using a mirror and a wire prick tool, can, after removing the oil sender switch, can reach in there and pierce that little cone, and it's about, it's an inch and a quarter long. I just held one in my hand this week. It's about an inch and a quarter long, and it's about the size, it's 3/8 of an inch in diameter, and it's a screen that is used to filter the oil that goes to the top of the engine, within the engine, and it was a mistake for GM to put that in there. It was used for cylinders deactivation so that dirty oil particles would not transfer and damage and plug up the restricted orifices above on the top of the engine. As it turned out, it did its job, but it also makes the oil light. Now that's number 2 of the areas that I believe you may have problems. Here's the number 1. The oil pan needs to be removed of that engine, and the oil pump pickup tube needs to be removed, and the O-ring seal needs to be replaced for that pickup tube. And my team of ASE certified master technicians just saved a person who was traveling from another city in our city that had the oil sender switch replaced and still had the same problem. Took it to a local, because it was under warranty, took it to the local, and because this car had 200,000 miles, she was told it needed an engine in it, and she brought it to us, and we replaced the pickup tube and that O-ring seal and fixed that vehicle, and we spent less than $800 all told, include sealing and pan and parts and what have you. So Jesse, have the oil pan and the pickup tube replaced or the tube.
Let's go to the Car Clinic mailbag. Here's a question from Steve in Eugene, Oregon. Dear Bobby, I live in Oregon. I download all of your shows through iTunes and try not to miss a single one. As you know, there's a lot of talk about El Nino heading our way soon. I'm a loyal K&N guy and have a K&N intake system on my 96 Chevrolet Silverado. My friend said I should go back to stock because all the rain this El Nino is going to bring will cause my motor to suck in too much water. What do you think? Steve, thanks for being a regular Car Clinic podcaster. I can understand what your buddy is thinking, but the original equipment air box has a drain hole in it so water will drain out. You'll have no problem with heavy rains. Your motor will definitely not take in too much water, so don't worry, and just think about how great your truck runs on those cool, rainy days. For more information on why K&N air filters are the world's best air filters, drive to knfilters.com. That's knfilters.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
You can call them used. You can call them previously driven. You can call them anything you want. The point is somebody, maybe even a dozen somebodies, owned the car before you did. And before you put down your hard-earned dollars for the car, you deserve to know exactly where it's been. Get a vehicle history report from Carfax.com. They'll give you the real history of any used car. Visit CARFAX.com. or ask your dealer for a Carfax report. Don't buy a used car without Carfax.
I, Dennis Walker, pledge allegiance to the roof. I know it'll be clean. I know it will be comfortable. And I know that if the phone rings when I'm in the shower, I can just let it ring. For I have voicemail. Red Roof Inn, one room, under budget, with free cable and local calls for all.
98% of Red Roof guests are so satisfied with their visit, they plan to come back. Now that's not just loyalty, that's allegiance. For reservations, call 800-RED-ROOF.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved. that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. We're going to go to, here's the order. We're going to Washington and talk to Victor. And then we're going to Kansas and talk with Rick. And then we're going to come back all the way to the Gulf Coast or to some part of Florida and talk to Howard. Before we go to Washington, I want you to know that this will be the last opportunity you get to win 2 tickets to the Daytona 500 on us. And that's WNDB, our affiliate in Daytona Beach, Florida, and our Car Clinic Network. And you'll enjoy hotel accommodation. This is a big deal, folks. You'll enjoy hotel accommodations Saturday and Sunday nights. That's February 20th and 21st. That's next week. Compliments of Daytona Beach Country Inn and Suites. And then on Sunday, February the 21st, you'll be our guest at the 58th running of the Daytona 500. Compliments of the Daytona Flea and Farmers Market. How do you win? How do you win? Go to Facebook.com/Bobby Likis and message me, Bobby. I want to win Daytona 500 tickets. Or you can go to WNDBnewstalk.com for more ways to win. But the easiest way for you to take a chance at winning this, and you only have today to do it, because the winner will be announced on the 15th on Facebook. So you got to do this today if you want to be a winner and see firsthand the new $400 million improvements made to the Daytona International Speedway, the home of NASCAR. So finally, go to Facebook.com/Bobby Likis, that's Likis, and message me, Bobby. I want to win Daytona 500 tickets. Now let's go to Washington. Victor, thanks for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Always great to hear from you.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby. We just kind of got going on the engine last week, but now, Now one question: how did they stabilize the rod out of the piston on the non-crank side? Because that's just a wild without. If you're not hooked to a crank, they got to have some way of stabilizing that. Did they put a sleeve on it?
Think of a stirrup. I've ridden a horse. Of course, I didn't ride it very far, but because the horse went one way and I went another. But that was another day. The wrist pin. There are 2 rods for the outer piston that are hooked to the crankshaft. Most pistons have 1 rod. And this engine, this opposing, and folks, we're talking about the Eco Motors engine that Professor Hofbauer designed, and I've been there. And since then, and Vinod Khosla and Bill Gates invested $34 million in this company, and along with other folks. And it's a OPOC, opposing pistons, opposing cylinder engine. So, Victor, there are 2 connecting rods that are very long, that reach from the crankshaft beyond the first piston and to the backside of the second piston that comes together with the first piston, because this is an internal combustion engine that has no combustion chamber. It has the 2 pistons that come together and make the chamber. It's unique, to say the least, and it's genius, pure genius. I've held one in my hand. There are only 67 moving parts. Now, having said that, what Professor Hofbauer did was, because 2-cycle engines have wear problems with the wrist pin, the outer wrist pin on this engine, he made a a guide and has that has two. I can't describe it, but it's two posts, and it has a rocker, and that rocker is hooked to the piston, and as the crank goes around, that piston goes up and down. But it is the unique. He reinvented the wrist pins. What he did. And he was talking about this when I was there, because that's where they were having a problem, and he had two more accomplishments beside the wrist pin update or re-engineer. One was to get 100 hours at wide open throttle on the dyno to prove the engine's durability, and he had to receive the diesel 2012 EPA specification for diesels for 2012, and that were the two hurdles that he had to bypass. And what was neat about this engine, it's you could put multiples of these engines, so you could have instead of a two-cylinder engine, you could have two of these engines connected together with an electronic clutch that could be electronically disconnected, so that you could have 4 cylinders that would launch the vehicle like a UPS truck. And once you got up to 30 miles an hour, then you shut off one cylinder or one engine, and you're still running on the 2 cylinders of the other engine.
Right.
So it's a fantastic. I was never so impressed with anyone in my life, and he and I spent an hour and a half together, face to face. I was just fortunate that I could get in and get this. This was at the Roush Racing Center, where they were leasing 2 engine cells and office spaces from Roush Racing in Livonia, Michigan.
Now, the way that worked, it blew the air through air holes, and then it blew, and on the other side of the air hole was exhaust valves, I suppose. So that's the way the old Jimmys used to be.
Yeah, that's it. That's the way it works.
So all it had was exhaust. Now the thing that looks to me like so great about that engine, rather than just forcing against the head and against the piston, you get power on that other piston rather than pushing on the head. So it should be a lot more economical, shouldn't it?
Well, not only economical, but this engine, because it pushes toward each other instead of trying to push its way. I mean, a regular V8 tries to push the crankshaft out of the bottom of the block. A regular 6-cylinder, the same thing. A 4-cylinder, same thing, unless it's a Porsche engine. So this opposing pistons had a 50% reduction. 50% reduction in friction.
Yeah. Another thing, that stirrup. When your crank comes up and you're dead center and you're first hitting, like you say, you're trying to push the crank out, but with the stirrup you could have that back so you weren't top dead center, you were off to the side, so you'd get more torquage right away.
Well, that was one of the design factors that always was intriguing to me, because the outer rods were 2-3 times as long as the inner rod, and so there's a stroke to rod ratio that is a big deal about how long it takes as the piston reaches the top of its, and now we're getting too technical, but it is the rod length to stroke ratio that is critical. So those were all things that he had to take into consideration and did. Hey, thank you so much for calling back. And the website, what website did you use?
I didn't. I was listening to you, and I remember it back with you.
Okay.
Well, now that engine, the only way they can get that engine in use, though, would be to replace worn-out engines. They'd have to make it so it fit into the engine.
48 inches. 48 inches. That's the standard guideline. I learned that as well. I said, what does it fit? He said, an engine bay is 48 inches, and that's what the allowance is. So when you design an engine, everyone that designs engines knows that in an automobile, given the constraints of the safety and the steering, yada, 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 you've got 48 inches to work with. And so he had all the answers. He, obviously, I mean, that's he's a professor. He was 20 years with VW, and he designed their diesel engines.
But nobody's been putting them in. Nobody's advertising them or nothing.
Well, not yet. But it will get there, and we may see China first as his first customer.
I don't like that. I like it here. China's getting too much of our money.
Yeah, I know. Well, maybe. Hey, maybe. Yeah, that's a good thing, because they'll be buying the OPOC engine from us, and money coming on our shore instead of going the other shore. Hey, Victor, thanks so much. Always very interesting to talk with you.
Thank you.
That neat guy, really. Let's go to Kansas and talk with Rick. Rick, thank you so much for holding. You're most patient, and I appreciate it.
Hey, good morning, Bobby.
Good morning, sir.
I just want to thank you for being there for all of us. And I like you. I like ethanol. I like ethanol in the 10%. The 10%, I think it's great for us. I mean, I'm in my 50s now, and my dad years ago, he said, that's the way to go, ethanol, and I believe that today. But today I've got a question for you about ethanol.
Sure.
On the phase separation part of it, I'd like to know something. I have a lot of vehicles, and I do leave some of them sitting around quite a while here on the farm and stuff.
Right.
And my question to you is not ethanol, isn't it like heat or the isopropyl alcohol? Isn't that the same thing or not?
It's an alcohol-based fuel, exactly. No question about it. In fact, we've been using ethanol. You mentioned iso heat. Gold Eagle has been selling a gasoline antifreeze for years, and it's alcohol. And I mean, that's what's so ironic about this is we've been using this product, and so. But you're concerned. Let me reel myself in now because you get me excited. Here's the bottom line. Phase separation occurs when the gasoline's ability to suspend water is exceeded. Gasoline straight, and we'll call that straight gasoline, is E0, so that's no ethanol, E0. E0 can suspend 0.15 teaspoons of water before phase separation. So if you have a tank of regular gasoline in a farm vehicle or in a boat that is half filled or a third filled, the water doesn't go into in the fuel. The water is condensate that occurs because the temperature changes on the walls of the gas tank inside, and that condensate flows down the sides of the gas tank into the bottom of the tank. And when you drive, it stirs it up. Well, but E0 can only suspend 0.15 teaspoons. Now, so you with me so far?
Yes.
All right. So if I've got a beaker of gasoline and I put in 5 cc's of water and shake and stir, and I let it go, you're going to see the water go right to the bottom. It's already phase separated because it can only suspend 0.15 teaspoons. Now, ethanol can suspend 26 times more water because it can hold 4 teaspoons. In fact, I could take my brand new car outside and pour in 12 ounces of water, and the car would never know the difference because the gasoline the blend of ethanol could suspend that water. Mercury Marine, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Now, at 70 degrees Fahrenheit and 70% relative humidity, to cause phase separation in gasoline would take about 2.7, 2.8 months because that's how long it takes to accumulate water and what have you. That's with E0. 26 times that with ethanol blended fuels is 5.8 years. So looking at the physics involved, I cringe when I hear people talking about phase separation, and people that are supposed to know. Of course, just because they're on the internet doesn't mean that they know.
Right.
But more than 5.5 years it would take to phase separate, because at 70% Fahrenheit and 70% relative humidity. So
let me stop you one moment.
Okay,
please.
yes.
Stop you one moment.
Sure.
So you're saying it does not phase separate then?
No, that's the whole point. That's why it's so great. Mercury Marine. Now we'll go one more step further. Mercury Marines did a complete white paper on ethanol blended fuels and said that a gas tank after the transition from E0 to E10 may run drier than it did before. Why? Because the water is suspended, whatever water accumulates is suspended in the fuel mix of blended gasoline and is burned harmlessly through the engine. Those are the facts.
That's what there's so many people out there always say, well, it's going to separate, and that's what's so bad about it. I mean, I mean, I understand you're the guy that you know you're a great guy out there that puts this out and lets people know about ethanol, and I agree with you. I agree. 10% ethanol, like I was taught, that it's good for everything. 10%, as long as it's 10% in these older vehicles, I would it's higher in others, but 10's fine for me. You know, I can see 10.
I appreciate your call, and I appreciate your support. And just for you to know, is I leave Monday morning to go to the National Ethanol Conference, the convention of this year, and it's all about high octane fuels and higher MPG and lower emissions, and I'll come back with even more knowledge. I promised Howard I'd go to him, so Rick, okay. I got to let you go, but thank you so much for your call. We'll take a call from Howard now. Howard, as promised, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thank you for holding.
And thank you for taking my call, Bobby.
My pleasure, sir.
Okay, I have a 2015 Avalon.
Okay.
And I noticed there's no transmission stick.
That's correct.
Now, after the warranty, I do a lot of mileage, and I do my own work. Now, how am I going to change the transmission fluid when I don't know where to put it in? That's number one.
You're not. We do this all the time. We have a machine that I paid $4,000 for this machine, and that machine hooks to the cooling system of that transmission, and we use dialysis methods to exchange the old fluid. And we just did one yesterday, a Toyota that had 67,000 miles on it, and we just changed the fluid because we knew it needed it, not because we could get a sample. And you should have seen the color of the fluid that came out of that Toyota at 67,000 miles. And I can tell you the warranty is over at 60,000 miles. So for manufacturers, and it's not a slam, it's fact, for manufacturers to say you can run 100,000, 150,000, that's cool. But their warranty doesn't go past 60. So I can tell you could live 150 years taking my pill. But if I guarantee you 10 years or 5 years, you see the point. Next week, more points. Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Come back.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
You've got mail. Time to go to our Car Clinic inbox. Doug in Chicago writes,
Dear Bobby, my car's engine isn't warming up as it should, so I took it to a mechanic. He suggested a new thermostat and recommended a Stant Superstat. It's a little more money. Is the Superstat worth it?
Absolutely, Doug. Your vehicle's thermostat plays a big role in maintaining a proper air-to-fuel ratio, which in turn maximizes fuel economy and keeps tailpipe emissions in check. Stant's Superstat thermostat is American-made with a larger heat motor for better temperature control, heavy-duty springs that help return the Superstat to a closed position to prevent cold running, and a heavier gauge stainless steel housing. Just hold one. You can actually feel the difference. Stant's Superstat is a premium-grade thermostat that performs better and lasts longer. And Superstat thermostats come with a limited lifetime warranty. So for me, it's definitely worth the money. For all the details why, visit Stant.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
P. Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grow, now you're here.